Good morning, everyone. I hope your week is going well. Today, I'd like to talk a little bit about where our habits and behaviors live. Because as we work through things in our vision therapy practice, we will find things change. We had a comment this week about a young boy who, before we started therapy, was usually pretty quiet, did what he was told, not a lot of pushback. And now we are about 10 sessions in, and all of a sudden Grandpa makes a note of, hey, he's starting to push back a little bit. Sometimes he doesn't agree with what's happening and he's letting us know, which is really cool because as we work with how well you can see things and process what's happening in your world, you develop a stronger sense of self. And when you know who and what and where you are, you have a better idea of where your boundaries are and where some things you may not be agreeable with and some things you are. And so you get a little bit of that pushback, and sometimes behavior gets a little bit worse before it gets better because they haven't crossed over to the other side of what it all means. And so they're still they're in like a area of discovery, which is really cool. And why that happens is because of how things work and process in our brains. Well, there's three elements to that. Number one, there's the conscious mind. This is the part that consciously thinks. You're thinking, okay, I have my to-do list and you These are my goals. This is what I want to do. This is what I want to say. Consciously, you are aware of what you're thinking. Then there's the unconscious mind, which is where basic life processes happen. Breathing, heart rate, all that kind of fun stuff. Habits, things you do on a routine basis, how you brush your teeth, how you tie your shoes, and thought patterns all live in the unconscious mind, and they happen without you being aware of it necessarily. And then there's the higher self. This is more what we call spirit, soul, purpose. That's where that lives. And what will happen with what we do is we will consciously, in the conscious mind, make them aware of what is going on and not functioning in the habits that they have stored that are creating reading problems, processing problems, spatial awareness problems. How well can they intake the information? And then as the new habits become learned, then what's stored in the unconscious mind shifts. And when that shift happens in how you perceive your world, well, that will shift how you look at things, how you will work through things. What are the possibilities? How do I manage that? So we're not just working on visual functions. We're working on unconscious habits that include tolerance to risk, tolerance to mess, tolerance, or flip side, they're too messy. Now they get a little bit more structured and ordered in how they work through things. And then when they do want to set that goal consciously, those new unconscious habits don't work against it, they work with it. And all of a sudden reading becomes easier, learning becomes easier. They're willing to try new things because unconsciously they're feeling more secure and safe in themselves and have a better idea of where they stand and where the world is and how that relationship is now less confusing and much more safe to navigate. And when you feel safe in your world, then you all of a sudden notice all these possibilities that that you weren't aware of before. So it's really awesome that as we take old unconscious habits of how we run our eyes and how we perceive our world, drop it down to conscious level to learn the new skill until it becomes unconscious again, create that new habit, and how things can align better with that person's purpose. Like the student, their purpose is learning. All of a sudden that purpose is more bright and it's really cool. The person who works on the computer all day, they're not as fatigued. Purpose, bigger. It's awesome and it's fun. So if you're finding that you're kind of struggling, or you know somebody who's struggling with some of how they're dealing with their world, maybe part of it is visual perceptual. Maybe there's an underlying habit in there that's creating a bit of a ruckus. Feel free to comment and let's discuss, because this is a really fun topic. Have a good day.